the entire season. Season 1 as a whole, all 12 episodes from beginning to end. Some good, some bad, and then we'll rate it at the end like we usually do with everything else. But well, Brandon, you're back. Give us some good stuff, some bad stuff of season 1.
I'd say the main standout for me was the acting. All around the table, the acting was really, really good. I really liked the ambition of the show. I liked what they were trying to do in that regard and showing a completely different side of the galaxy. I thought that was really, really cool. Something that we're not used to. It was a breath of fresh air in that regard. I liked that it really demanded your attention, despite what we say about the pacing. It's something that you really had to pay attention to in order to follow it. I thought that was a really good idea on behalf of.
They whisper every single time.
Yeah, yeah. On behalf of Dan and Tony Gilroy, I did enjoy that. I think everything really tied together in the end, and it left me wanting more. I will definitely watch a second season. After that final episode, I'm very much waiting for another season, just to see what happens next. I think when it comes to the bad stuff, I wouldn't really be saying anything that I haven't already. Sometimes it felt like a lot of build up and slow burn, and it kind of shot itself in the foot with that at times. Mm-hmm. That's how I felt with the slow burn. I know I was defending that very, very early on, but slow burn requires a payoff, and it requires a payoff furthermore at a certain point. It just felt like they really took their time doing that, and it never felt complete. It never felt like there was a real 100% payoff until it was almost too late. So I think that really worked against that. That was my main problem with it. That one officer, this is more of like a personal gripe, that one officer who we've been like kind of clowning on. You guys know the one I'm talking. What was his name?
Which
tastiest man ever.
Yeah. The one who's got the crush on the what's her name?
What is his name? Oh my god.
What's starting with the S? I don't remember his name.
Every time he was talking to his mom, I was like, why are we listening to this conversation?
Anyway, friggin' creep. I couldn't stand that dude.
Cyril.
Yep.
Yeah. Cyril. Friggin' restraining order just waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, as far as Star Wars shows go, it was very much a peculiar case. It was an interesting case, but it's overall I thought it was all right. That would be my verdict.
Okay. We'll get into like the actual now later never rating in a minute. What about you, Zach? You want to get some good, some bad?
So good. I do like Andor's character arc. And I like the deeper look into the Empire. As someone that's a casual Star Wars fan, I feel like that has been not something that we've really dwelled in. I know the prequels try to do it, but it wasn't as deep as this. They were kind of talking about like bartering points and lines and shit, and that's not what we were in here for. This was like real like tyranny that we were getting. And to get a central character that we could focus on in the Empire that I was actually rooting for. I don't know how the show did that. I think that was a great job because you're like, I get it. She's just doing her job, but she's also working for Apple. And this is not good. And so I really like that. I really enjoyed all the callbacks to like real life. Everything with him getting caught up in the mix. And how he ended up in jail. I thought that was just really crazy because I know people, you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time and you're not doing anything, but because you kind of look like a bunch of other people or you ran because you were scared, you end up in jail. And no due process. And like a lot of that stuff is happening right now in real life in the United States. So I really enjoy that they pulled that in there without like pushing it in your face.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, we got to stop this in real life. It was kind of like, this is just part of the story. if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you just feel bad for these people. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah, and I enjoyed 6 through 12. I really enjoyed episodes 6 through 12. I think the first 5 episodes was rough. Especially I think the first 3 episodes of the show was one of the first 3 episodes I've ever watched of a show.
Yeah, I get that.
Because the first episode was like he's looking for his sister, and then they completely dropped that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so choppy. It ended.
True,
Like, the first episode ended. Like it's like it's forcing you. You have to watch these first 3 episodes. Not everybody can do that. So a lot of people might watch the first episode and like, what the fuck is this? This is boring. And it ends in a weird way, and I was just like, I guess I'm gonna go to the next episode. And I went to the next episode, and it ended in a weird way. And I'm like, I'm kind of interested because I love Rogue One, but what? And then I watched the 3rd episode, and I was like, okay, what is happening here? And then the 4th episode was like, oh, I like this payoff. And then episode 5 came, and I was like, oh, this is boring. It was just like so up and down with like I like slow burn content, but it has to give us something. Yeah, you gotta give me something. Like if I'm watching a 2-hour movie and it's slow burn, every 20 minutes I should be getting a reveal of something that's interesting me. Or you should have some interesting character work. The characters weren't that interesting to me, and I think that's the main problem. They were there for the plot.
Yeah. Then real quick before Brian goes on, Cold Lords came in and says they were hoping to see Bail Organa interacting with Mon Mothma. Agreed. You know, because Bail is a very big part of the rebellion. You know, not only because of Leia, but actually because of his power and his wealth. You know, and this whole first season is like money. What are we gonna do about it? And it's like, meanwhile, he's over here. He's like, you know, like just like
count his money, like
yeah. You know, he's like Scrooge McDuck jumping in the bin of you know, he's like, oh, you want some? You know, it's like all you gotta do is ask, you know. But yeah, I was hoping for that too, you know. But
maybe season 2.
Hopefully. You know, my well, I still have a payoff that I want to see, but we'll get into that later when it's my turn. But right now, Brian, why don't you go ahead? Some good, some bad.
I'm gonna say this: I can fix everything. I can fix all of it. Let's shorten it down to 7 episodes. All right.
Yeah.
So those first 3 episodes, let's give that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Give that 30 minutes. We can do all the same stuff and still say the same stuff. Then we get the big payoff. Then we can eliminate episode 5 all again, all that going. You know, we can go right to. Really, I mean, it goes 3, then we're like 6, and then like 10. Like you can do like half an hour episodes in between those things and get to the same point at 12. We didn't need any of that stuff. And it was too long. It seemed like they were trying to make all this content into this thing, and it got stale. There's so much, as I said, there's so much build up, character development. We're trying to give you an idea of what we're thinking and all this stuff, and nothing happens. Too much. I will go through 2 episodes with nothing happening. Like what changed from the beginning of this episode to the end of this episode? Nothing. They're still in jail. Luthen is still doing his thing. Mon Mothma still has no idea how to hide this money. Nothing. Like nothing changed the whole plot. And that happened multiple times. That's my problem. And then with the whole thing, why are they chasing Andor? If they're chasing Andor, he's talking to like 7 different people that know who he is. But they're going after Andor. What the? Who cares? Doesn't make any sense. So I felt like my first problem was I didn't think it was very Star Warsy. But I could get past that because you're trying to expand the universe. You're trying to give us more because it felt to me, you know, like you're looking for spice. Like, you know, that you're adding up to adding another part of this thing that we know it's there, but building it up. I'm okay with that. But if you're going to do that, you better pay off all the time because you don't have anything like the Force. You don't have any of these characters that we know. So to do a slow burn with characters that we don't know, and you're not developing the characters, and nothing's paid off, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So I mean, literally, I would cut half all the shows out the way just to try to save it. So I don't know. That's me though.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I mean, and I think Disney Plus has that issue where series that you're like, hey, I want more. They're like, nah, this is all you get. You get 6 episodes. You get 7 episodes.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like WandaVision, like, oh, you wanted 10? Nah, where this one is like, we're gonna make you watch 12 episodes when it really only needs to be 6, maybe 7. So yeah, I agree with you there with that. But yeah, I mean, for some of the bad stuff was, like you said, it was just the slow burn, which is the biggest issue. I don't mind, because right off the bat they said they weren't going to do any like callbacks to Vader or Luke or any stuff like that. I'm like, okay, if you want to be in your own story bubble of the rebellion, fine. I'm okay with that. But you gotta give us the sense of you're in the same universe as Star Wars. You just can't drop in like, oh, the Emperor, like, cool, like, it just didn't feel like it was in the same universe all the time. And there's other times when you're like, oh wow, this is gorgeous, like episode 6 with the heist. That was so awesome. Good. That was such a great episode. Like
we had to deal with 7, 8, and 9 after it.
Yeah, I didn't mind. Was it what the episode when he already is arrested and stuff like that? It was a 9 and 10, I think. Those were good episodes, but but 9 and 10 could have been one episode. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like that didn't have to be like, oh, here's a buildup of him being in jail, and then here's the payoff of him getting out of jail. It's like that could have been one episode. But the jail part was cool. There was a lot of cool parts, but who is that? I saw somebody on Twitter was like, oh, this was the slow burn, and it was like the Wile E. Coyote like lights it and it goes and then it stops. And then like he tries to go, look, and then it goes again. Like that's what this was like. It was just like the fuse was burning, and then it just stopped. And you're like, wait, is it still going? And then like it picks up, and it felt very too roller coastery for me. You can't have
probably the best way to describe it too.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have something really, really great and then drop down to like you fall asleep and you need to rewind. It's like, and I know Cole Lord said that. That's not the first time I heard that. It's either, people said that. So, I've had to do it a few times in like episode 5.
And I hate to compare shows, but this show has the production level and the writing level of something like a Rings of Power and a House of Dragon, and all 3 of those shows are slow burns, and especially House of Dragon, where this episodes where nothing happens, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
but
they have
interesting characters. And that's the difference. If the characters that were in these slower episodes were interesting, especially the heist people, I did not give one flying frick about any of those heist people. Not at all.
Yeah. And
that was the problem, because we were supposed to kick because they're going to die. And they're like, oh my God, they die. I was like, yeah, they're going to die. They're dumb. But like Rings of Power gave me the elf that was really interesting, and the organ that was interesting, and the mystery man, and I'm like, who is these people and what's going on? And I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, and I want to know everything. House of Dragons gave me all this incest and craziness and all this nonsense, and I'm like, okay, it's slow, but you're giving me peeking my juices with the characters while the story is going. I have problems with those shows, but the characters were interesting. With Andor, the problem is the story might be more superior than both of those, but the characters were not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a perfect example.
Can you name 10 characters
from this show? I can't even pronounce their names. That's the problem.
Some of them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you can name Rhaenyra, Rhaenys, and Daemon.
And they got complicated names too.
You know what I'm saying? You can name because you knew who they were. And Alice said, you know who these people are. I don't know. I'm still not sure who Forrest Whitaker is. I'm still not sure. Like I'm like,
he's been in the show and the movie. You're so like,
his eyes like this. I know he does this. I have no idea exactly what's going on. He is one of the best actors to ever act. I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't even know if he ever said his name. And Scalian Skarsgård, is that how you saying that his name?
Yeah.
He was phenomenal the whole show. Yeah. Oh my God. He was fantastic. His character was fantastic. But once again, we didn't see him do anything.
Exactly.
We didn't see
He
what
put on a wig.
actually doing. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that was very interesting. The scene that really made me go, "Oh, I like this guy," is when he put the wig on and he kind of like changed in the
Yeah.
mirror. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, this
Mhm.
man is acting his ass off."
Yeah.
I appreciate when people put effort like that. But once again, it's like the Gore the God Butcher problem. You didn't show me him. You didn't show him butchering the gods.
Yeah.
Give me
Exactly.
Yeah.
something.
Exactly.
I'm right there. When he did that, he put the wig on and he like completely changed. I'm like, oh, he's gonna. And then it never paid that off because
It
the
was
next
like,
scene was like,
next
oh, he
scene.
works. Like, yeah, cool. He works as this thing, and but it was like, I wanted more of that. That more like of the instant change, and we only got the one, and then that was it. And I was like, you don't have like one of the 15 Skarsgårds that are in Hollywood to not like take advantage of their good acting, So I don't know, but like you said with the characters though, was like a good example was like Damon, from Game of Thrones. The story could have been boring, but they showed him. Everyone got in the seat, like, oh, what's this guy gonna say? He's gonna piss somebody off, like, And in this series, I didn't get any of that. I didn't get like, I'm like, ooh, this guy's on screen. What's gonna happen? It's just like, I'm like, oh, okay, but it wasn't bad enough where I'm like, I don't care, but it wasn't like interesting enough where I was like, I changed my mood like instantly, like, oh, it's a new scene with this new guy. Oh, cool, what's going on? It's just like very monotone. Like the whole thing is like, I didn't feel anything with some of these characters, like Mon Mothma. I felt like should have been pretty cool, and she had points where she could have been cool, and then it's just like, okay, nothing.
I found
kinda...
it interesting a little bit, like, oh, she gave up her daughter. All this stuff she's trying to plan this out, trying to stay hidden in plain sight. But they cut to her so many times, and the same shit was still going on.
Yeah,
same room,
same thing,
same curtains,
same conversation,
same food on the table.
I was like, "What are you doing?"
Born ass husband.
Do something. Like I feel like a kid, like with a stick, like poking. Do something.
And then they kept showing her in that area where she's trying to get people to do stuff, and it was like they recorded it in like different angles and just gave it to us twice.
Yeah,
because she's saying stuff, and then people are leaving, and I'm like, that's the same exact thing. I'm pretty sure that's the same person that left last time.
Yeah, they only had 10 people, so they say it's COVID times. That's why.
Yeah,
dude,
Oh, this was recorded. COVID might be a problem.
Maybe that was. That's why they couldn't give us a good story. I mean,
the story was good.
Too soon.
That wasn't the problem. I think it was.
I think it had potential.
Characters.
Yeah, you need to spice it up a little bit. And then Cold Lords, 2 episodes of how it's made, them building whatever that was. So you guys, so that was part. I don't know if Cold Lords. There's a post-credit scene at the end of episode 12. Yeah. Did that surprise any of you? I kind of knew, but I didn't know what part of it was being built.
Yeah, I had no idea what they were doing.
Me neither.
So here I'll flat out say it. So if you haven't watched it, earmuffs or whatever, put us on mute for 10 seconds or a minute or so. So they were building parts for the Death Star, which I knew from the bat. I was like, oh, for sure. Especially when you find out they're basically being slaves and there's no way out, that they're in there forever. I was like, oh yeah, they're building the Death Star. Like that's how it's gonna happen. Yeah. So, and then they just showed you like, oh, what they were building was, well, like a connector from all the plates for the big, death beam on the Death Star. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. But it was a cool scene, where I'm like, haha, like cool, like payoff, but it ultimately didn't really mean anything, So I was like,
you look back and you realize I'm still where I was at episode 2.
Yeah. Like, why are they chasing him?
I just feel like Cassian Andor, this whole first season was about him getting into the rebellion. That's all this was. It's about him getting into the rebellion, and that's too many episodes for one thing to happen.
Yeah,
that's the biggest problem. I'm telling you, if they cut this, if this was 7 episodes and they cut all the fat out of it, we would be saying right now, this is one of the best Star Wars stories I've ever seen. This has been was enough action that piqued my interest all the time. Anytime I felt like I was falling off, they brought me back. If they can just do those things, but when you push it into 12 and it's on the same planet for 4 years, and you got to see them run the full 5 miles, like you got to stay and watch. Oh, that's mile 1. We come back mile 2. Like, there's no need to do that. We understand you're running. Get to the point. Get where you need to get. You know, if they did it right, this could have been very cool.
Also, have a counterpoint to that too. Is like, this should have been a weekly show. Even if they kept to 12, this should have been dropped all at the same time, and just let us just binge.
Definitely
go through.
If you could binge this, it wouldn't have been as bad.
Yeah,
because I could have been like, okay, I want to watch the first 4 episodes.
Process, you know, the way they dropped it.
Yeah. I want to watch the first 4 episodes. Like, oh, okay, and then I want to watch 5, 6, and 7. I'm like, okay. And then, like, I would have been waiting each week, like, okay, I got this episode this week, and I'm like, this is kind of boring.
Yeah.
I would have been like 5 to 6. I'm like, okay, that's one full block of, oh, this is good together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a pretty good point. That would have definitely. I think Brandon was saying that too. Like, he's gonna binge it again this weekend because it probably plays better that way, which is probably what they should have done from the beginning. Like you said, a slow burn should be released all at once. You know, like, here you go, like, you can watch it all burn, you know, like, take your time with it. You know. Yeah, but
I guarantee Brandon will be 3 hours of this whole thing.
I think that's it.
And guess what? You won't miss anything.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, let's rate this one. So we rate ours a little bit simple. We do it now means watch it now, drop whatever you're doing. Later means watch it whenever you get a chance, no big deal. And never means skip it. It's not even worth putting any attention into it. So that being said, I'll let Brandon go first to kind of go around. Over.
This is a very definite later, and it's not to say that it's a bad show, because it's really not. You just have to have a lot of patience with it. So, and you know, as someone who's grown up loving Star Wars, it's very, very much a different side of Star Wars. So if you're going in expecting, you know, like A New Hope or The Mandalorian, even, you're going to be disappointed. So you really have to know what you're getting yourself into. And you really have to have a lot of patience. So that said, it's nothing you really, it's great. It's well acted. I really liked the idea and concept of it. The execution was kind of where my problems lied. But with all that in mind, I'd say later.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Zach?
It's a never. No, I'm joking. No, it's a later. It's a later. There's nothing in here that's pertinent. Like, oh my God, you gotta see this. This is crazy. I think that I really, really like the jail stuff, even like all the jail stuff. But there's other shows on television that's not sci-fi that does that more interesting. And you don't have to sit through those first 5 episodes of like almost nothing.
I mean, the heist was okay.
The heist was pretty good. The whole star thing, that was gorgeous. That was like Star Wars meet like Mission Impossible. I like the mixture of that. This one thing I'll give this show, and why you should check it out, is I'm a more mature Star Wars, and I need Star Wars to kind of mature more. I'm 30 something. I don't need Luke Skywalker eating random eggs from random things. Like, yeah, there could be jokes and stuff like that, and I feel like that would have helped the show. Is my mic good?
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, okay. But I do think that you should check it out. I think that it's a gorgeous show, well acted. It is well written. It's just not well paced. So yeah, definitely check it out when you get a chance, but you don't have to rush.
Yeah. Brian, what you got?
All right. I don't think this is really a Star Wars show, but it's definitely the Star Wars universe. I feel like it was more like Doom. I feel this way. I feel like it felt more like Doom. You know, they are in the same universe, you know, because you're talking about the spice and we see how things are being done, and but it seemed more like a lot of talking, not as much action. But I didn't mind them doing that if they could pay it off. And I don't think it was written well. You saying it was written well. I don't think it was written well, because I think you write some things about your characters into it. You write intrigue into the show, and they didn't do that with all the characters. I literally don't remember anyone else That's really, I mean, Biz and Andor. That's the only two people I really know. That's it. You know, it's just no one else really gravitating and pulled you. You were like, oh, I remember that guard with the blonde hair. What's her name? I don't know. Guess what? They didn't do a good job developing that character. So with that all being said, it's a later, but if it was cut the right way, I feel like it still could be very, very good. And I'm excited to see what they do with season 2, because if they get rid of a lot of that dead time and actually give us something going on or developing into something, then maybe we have a very good show. Because I love Rogue One, and going to Rogue One, this has to be really good. Season 2 has to be good.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Like I'm gonna give it a later. Because there were good parts where you're like, oh wow, that's cool. You know, like you said, episode 6, the heist, and the last episode for me were like the 2 best, and then the rest were
the jailbreak was good.
Mid to like the jailbreak was cool. Yeah, I'll give that. But again, that's 2 episodes that should have been 1 episode. You know, where it did drag on a little bit, and I felt like if they would have condensed it down, that would have been probably one of the best episodes. You know, but right now the heist is the best episode. Like just because it felt the most Star Wars, like you said. Not only because they're TIE fighters and shit, you know, that's part of it, but also just the vibe of like these people having like religion and beliefs and stuff like that, reminding you of the Force, you know, because you could easily be like, oh, you know, this is happening because of the Force and stuff like that. I felt you never got a lot of that. You know, where I make fun of a lot of like, oh, why did this happen? Because of the Force. You know, like that's such an easy explanation in Star Wars. We never got any of that in this episode or in this series in season 1. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, like you said, you know, but you know, it was definitely very adult, very different vibe, which I did appreciate, but it just it needed more of it. You know what I mean? Like it just like I said, it's dragged. It's dragged. You know, this is 5 years before Rogue One. I was like, that's not a lot of time.
You could do a lot of stuff
to say how the rebellion started in the 5 years. You know what I mean? Because by the time we get to Rogue One, the rebellion is kind of like pretty formed, you know, at that point, because that's where the New Hope starts at the end of Rogue One. So at the end of Rogue One, New Hope starts. So it's like the rebellion's a thing at that point. So it was like you got 5 years, you know, to really get to that point. And I don't know. I don't know if they really are there.
Season 2 is going to be 12 episodes again. It's going to be 3 episode arcs. And then after 3 episodes, years are going to pass each 3 episode arc. That's what they said. So we may get a speedier show because time jumps.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know. I mean, because even with this, like, how long was he in the jail for? No one really said that. You know, was he in it for a year, a week, a month?
I think they did see it.
Did they? I missed it.
He was definitely not there for the length of time he was supposed to. I think he was there way shorter. He got out way before.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, I'm giving it a later. It was fun at parts. There's times where you're kind of boring, but now that it's all out, you know, I would say watch it now. You know that it's all out. You know, this is a good thing. You know, for sure. You know, I know, like Zach said, Brandon was even saying it's definitely a binge show because one, you can fast forward and know there's something else coming up. You know, you don't have to wait a week. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I think we're all kind of in the same spot. And then we got in season 2, I want to see the Empire at one of those galactic Senate parties. Oh, that'll be interesting. Glass in one hand and cheese plate in the other while dropping venom on the senators. That's good. Well, it reminds me of, have you ever seen the Robot Chicken Star Wars ones?
Yeah.
He goes, what the fuck is an aluminum falcon? You know, it's like you want to see that kind of like a drunk emperor. Like I
want to see him at a barbecue and the fire goes out and he's like, don't worry about that. Keep the party going. Lightning. Zzz, keep it going.
Like a Bud Light commercial. Like he turns around. Yeah.
Yo, do you guys realize that people are complaining and making videos that there's bricks in Star Wars universe now?
Yeah, that was
toxic fandom.
Yeah, that was one of the things Star Wars Theory brought up, was like all about bricks instead of being smooth sandstone. I did think that was a little silly. I was like,
It's an entire galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't you have some different type of things everywhere?
Yeah, it's a whole
Different
different
worlds.
planet we never been to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it was like, but it's also like, think of the world, you know what I mean? You go to like a deserty place, they have like clay houses and stuff. Like, yeah, that's gonna be kind of smooth, but also like you go to other places and like also kind of the same environment. They decide to make brick clays, rather than the giant clay wall.
They do all
limestone,
type of,
Or not use
so
stone at all. They might use fucking trees and stuff like that.
yeah. So I mean, so I mean, we've been to all the different plants and we saw different things, where Luke was at Returns, or not Returns, The Last Jedi, he lived in like a brick house. That was a brick, like
it was a castle. It was all type of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't think that was that big of a deal. The guns, I think they were futuristic-y enough to be like, all right, whatever, If they were like a little pull trigger and like revolver, I was like, all right, you need to calm down now. But but it did have that vibe of it, because George Lucas did that a lot. He goes, yeah, I want samurai, but not full on samurai. I want a western, but not a full on western. And this one, like, Dale Lugana had that gun that like the inside of it like flips like that. And I thought that was cool, and that reminded me of a revolver. Yeah, so I'm like, stuff like that is like, you want to be reminded of real life things, but it doesn't want to be a real world thing, and I thought they did a pretty good job with it, and the brick thing was pretty cool, especially like them as they die, they become a brick that helps build this. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Because when Andor comes back and he goes to Clem's, his adopted dad, his brick. I'm like, that's cool. Like that's pretty cool. Like,
become part of the city. You become part of the building. You always are there. You helped build this place, and now you're helping build this place up.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Perfect.
Yeah, literal and metaphorical. So, but it also reminded me of real life things. When they're building a new building and you donate money, you're like, you can name it after a brick after your dad or a brick after somebody you love. So it's kind of the same vibe, but obviously I think this was very meaningful, where you can go somewhere and be like, oh, this is a place my loved one loved, and now he's part of it forever. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but. If you just like, bricks takes you out of it, then I mean, it is what it is. I mean, sometimes the smallest things just take you out of a movie, or a show, and you're just like, it throws you off. But then we also got Martin coming in saying, check out Zach Attack's channel. There's his YouTube right there.
Oh, thank you, Martin.
So Martin's part of the Nerd Huddle with us. So he does a lot of the sportsy stuff. So
nice.
But yeah, he's part of our group over here. So appreciate it, Martin.
Partner in crime on sports stuff.
Is that the fourth guy in the picture I've never seen?
No.
Oh, okay.
Will usually just does Spoiler Kings, but he's got some stuff going on. Hopefully he come back pretty soon. But Martin is more of the sports side. So if you go Nerd Huddle on Dynasty Pylon over there, Martin's the football, fantasy football guru guy. So
I'm better. I said
I don't even say that.
Martin's going to kick my butt.
He's going to log in right now. He's like, what? I'm going to end the stream. So that being said, you guys, any last thoughts, ideas, something you didn't say you want to get out real quick with Andor?
I'm pretty sure I said it all.
Speaking of checking out my channel, I am going to do a review, break down the good and the bad, like I said, more in depth than I did here. Yeah, check that out when it comes out.
Yep,
most definitely. I'll be watching.
Yep. So again, make sure you go check out Zach Attacks. Link will be in the description. Go give him some love and go leave a comment on a few of his channels. But that being said, let's move on to our next topic.